I'm saying this, man. Look, you need to turn back into Mike Lowry. Go back to Mike Lowry. That's who you need to be off of Bad Boys. Be Mike Lowry. You need to go back to who you used to be. If you like Mike Lowry, the world is yours. All right, guys, welcome back to How I Talk. I'm your host. This is Chris Jones.
And I'm a host too. I'm a host too. He always try to leave me out like I'm not a host, people. But I'm here with you guys. Hey, I'm ready and I'm excited about what we're doing today. What are we doing today, Chris? Oh, we got to get some logistics out of the way.
Definitely. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about Will and Jada. We definitely want to get into that, guys. But before we get into this topic, we always got to do some housekeeping, which means go ahead and like our page. Go ahead and like our channel. Go ahead and like the content that we post. Share with other people. Comment on it. Let me know what you think. Because guess what? You may not agree with everything that we got to say or anything we said in the past or in the future. But hey, we want to know your thoughts. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about Will and Jada. If you guys are not aware, let me give you the backstory for some of you that are not aware what's going on with Will and Jada. Will and Jada currently are going through a marriage crisis, an affair, you name it. They're going through some issues in their marriage. I'm not even sure if they want to consider it marriage anymore. This is something that's been going on in the past year that everybody has been aware of, has made news. It's probably been going on a little bit longer. But Will and Jada have gone through some issues. The first one being, to my acknowledgement, is, Jada was in an entanglement with August Alsina, who is a well-known artist. She had a situation.
I don't even know who that is.
Relationship.
Well,
you're a little bit older. You don't know.
Wait a minute. What is Jada? What is Jada? Jada Will is what?
Jada Pinkett Smith. You're just out of sync. So she's with this younger artist. He's in his late 20s. She had a relationship with him, but at the same time, she was not with Will. They had broken apart. This is all from the Red Table Talk. She has her own show. They discussed it. This was about a year ago. They are no longer considered a monogamous relationship. So guys, today we wanted to talk about that relationship from beginning all the way to what it currently is. What do you guys think? But we're going to share what we think and what we think is going to go on right now and what we think is going on in the future. So Tim, I'll go ahead and give you the floor. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
First, while you have the floor, Chris, I want to hear this. Would you define for me, myself, a listener, as well as everybody out there, define for us, what is an open marriage? Let's hear what he got to say. I want to hear this 30-year-old perspective.
Yeah, come on. It's good stuff right here.
Okay, let's hear it.
So everybody's been knowing that Will and Jada have been swingers or have thought.
They're swingers now. So they're not an open marriage. They're swingers.
They thought. I didn't say that they were, but there was a thought that they
wait
were.
A minute. You're getting terminology out here that's confusing me and everybody else. Define now for us what is swingers and what is open marriage.
Open marriage, from my understanding, is you're free to do whatever you want.
Oh, look at the camera, buddy. Go ahead, tell us.
I'm gonna look up the actual definition.
Oh God!
I don't know the exact.
This is what I mean, people. We got somebody in here that don't even know what an open marriage.
Open marriage is you have the ability to do what you want to do. It's open. Do what you like to do. In our understanding, we have a good understanding of what that is as a couple. You're open to do what you want to do within these rules. Swingers is, it says here, are couples or singles who choose to have an open relationship, allowing their partners to have sex with other people with their permission. So it seems like it's under the same tree of open relationship.
It's kind of under the same tree. Now, here's what I would define. Here's how I would lay it out for our viewing audience and our listening people. I would say swingers and open relationships are two different things. Now,
Mhm.
here's how I would say it. I would say people that are swingers, I would say, let me go back up 1 minute to say that both of these situations, whether open marriage or whether it's swingers, the openness is in the sexual arena and nothing else. Okay. This is going to stun everybody. This is going to stun you because what I'm saying is their openness is more about sexuality than it is about anything else. It's not about anything else. It's only about sex. So if we were to lay that out on the table first, that's what it's all about. That's what we're talking about. That's what it boils down to. Now, okay, now how does the sex play out? And you can play it out as swingers, or you can play it out as an open marriage. Okay, here's the difference. Here's my analogy of the differences. Swingers, if they are in, because it's all about sex, since it's a swingers are going to have sexual relations with others that are doing the same type of thing. In other words, it could be two couples going out to be with two other couples in a sexual menage or relationship. I wouldn't say menage a trois, but relationship. Or it could be the woman is going out with her husband and someone else in a menage a trois situation, or vice versa. The man is going out and having sexual relations with his wife and another woman all at the same time in the same context or same place. So they're all
Mhm.
together. So we as a couple can go have sexual relations with other couples, whether it's one couple, two couple, three couple, doesn't matter. So it's group settings, things like that. Then I would say that's swinging. That's swinging
Yeah. Well,
because
it involves the other person.
you're involving the other person, and you guys
Correct.
are in it together. You guys are going out with different people, and it's all about sex. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, an open relationship, open marriage, I would say is different. I would say the difference is that you're not with your partner going to have these sexual relationships. So your partner was saying, "Hey, you're open to go have sexual relations with whomever you choose within the context and the confines and the boundaries that you and I have established." For example, they may sit down, they being Will and Jada, we're just using them as the example since they're what we've thrown out as the topic. They have sit down with each other, and Will says to Jada, "Hey, we're going to have an open relationship." She says, "Yes, Will, I love it. Great idea." And then he says, "You know what? Here's the boundaries and the rules of our open relationship." "Oh, okay. Well, what are they?" And they say, "Hey, we're going to sit down together. You can go and be with a woman at your choice whenever you choose. Hey, that's fine. But you, in your sexual experiences with her, there may be certain things I don't want you to do, Will, with her that you do with me." Oh, that's a boundary. Oh, it may be certain things. Oh, and here's another thing. I don't want you to have any sexual relations with another male. Or I don't want you to have any sexual relations with two females or three females. It's just one
Gotcha.
going to be. So they establish boundaries.
Okay. Okay. Well, we got your long-winded definition.
Oh, yes. But no, no,
we
no.
got
I'm providing
you
clarity
can break
here
it
for
down
the people.
quickly. Remember, we got people that are listening. They're
And they're
they're
listening.
they're
They're,
quick.
boy, they're on the edge right
Look,
there. He's telling
look.
it like it. I'm telling you like it is. This is
I
how it
know, I
works.
understand that, but then we got 10 minutes, and then they turn this thing off. So we need to
No,
get to
they
the
listen.
topic.
They are engaged. They are
You
ready.
giving us a whole detailed breakdown. Shoot, I
Oh,
had to
I
use a
got it.
dictionary.
I'm helping some people out there.
Call you a dictionary. All right, so let's just get into it. Will and Jada, like let's talk about what has happened in their relationship. If you didn't know, they got married in 1997, right? Okay, I'm giving you the biography, the breakdown, right? They got married way back when. They've been married 20, 23 years, somewhere around there, 24 years. They have two children, Jaden and Willow. Most of you guys probably know Jaden and Willow. They're artists. They're in their mid-20s, early 20s, whatever the case may be. But they have two children. Now, they actually have three. Will has three. He had a previous marriage. My understanding is Will left his past relationship, his ex, to go be with Jada. So he left to go be with Jada. But what I've noticed is this situation that they are coming across happened early on. Will just did not see it. And you know how I know he did not see it is because his interview reflected that. He ignored the red flags. He ignored the
Jada
red
was this way.
flags, as most of us do. Huh?
That you ignored the flags that Jada was this way.
That she presented. And matter of fact, in the
No.
GQ, you
Yeah,
guys should
I would say
listen
she
to it.
did present, but here's the thing. I would say in the community of what is that, Hollywood, or in the movie arenas, or whatever you want to call that community. I would say in that community, she was already known as this type of woman.
Okay.
Man,
I mean, I didn't grow up with, Jay when I was younger, but I would say if she was known that way,
she was
that's,
already
I mean,
known.
if you're known that way, it's the same way with PJ Washington from the Hornets. He's with Brittany Renner. Why do you get this girl pregnant and you knew this girl was already running in the streets all day? She got YouTube videos talking about how she's scheming on men. Why would you be with that? It's red flag. Don't go do that, dummy. You
But
know what I
some
mean?
people like that.
I
Some people like
understand. And
that.
then they realize you hit your head. You should have never done that, because Jada was saying, he said in the interview, you know what? I grew up a different way. That's what Will said. I grew up in a conventional, traditional marriage. Jada did not. Jada grew up differently, and she believed in unconventional marriages. She saw previous family members in open relationships or swinger relationships. So she grew up different and viewed it differently than I did. I would have been up, red flag. Unless you can conform to this monogamous, where it seems like they did early on. That's what he says. Monogamy.
She tried.
They did early on.
Tried.
She tried.
Yeah,
but when you want to give people the benefit of the doubt to try, but at the same time, when somebody says that to me, that's a red flag.
That's a red flag.
I got more to say, but that's just one point I wanted to lay out there, is that the red flags were there from the beginning. What do you think?
I agree with that. I agree the red flags were already there. And that's what I'm saying. This was already known about Jada. So this wasn't new information that he was finding out, or this is something he found out just now. He knew this going in, but he went in because he was thinking, typically we think, well, hey, we're going to help change it. It's going to be different with me. No, it's not. Typically, the way they are is the way they're going to be. And you need to learn that in a relationship. The way they are is the way they're going to be. So you just need to kind of sift through and kind of find out, hey, how are they made? How are they wired? And what are they thinking? And so right now, I'm telling you, and in these open relationships, one of the things they try to encourage is, or do not encourage, is they don't want any emotional connection, emotional attachment. And see, he should have known that about her when he started to get to know her, because typically in these open type things, you don't want an emotional connection. You don't want an emotional attachment, because remember what I said from the beginning, it's all about sex, baby. That's all it's about. And so it's about a sexual activity. It's about sexual experiences. And that's all it is. So what you end up doing is going on several dates, stuff like that, with your person that's going to be your sexual partner. And you're going to have this open relationship, but you're going to prioritize the primary relationship. And so her and Will is the primary relationship. That's where the emotion is supposed to come in. But with any sexual activity, it creates an
emotional attachment.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So and especially if it's continuous. So if it's continuous and it starts to happen more than once, guess what? It creates some type of emotional attachments. And that's where the problems come in, when that starts to happen. And that's where they have all the issues. And that's
so I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Do you think that Will is what Jada originally wanted? Do you think that's what she really wanted?
Is that what she wanted?
Like him, choosing him. Was that what she really wanted, him?
I would say that's hard to say. I would say she may have wanted the idea of him, because at the time he was big. He was really, really big. So now he's living basically, like anybody, you live on your past accomplishments, and they've been big, but he was really huge during that time. And so he left, like you said, he left his former, but of course, when someone's with someone else, it's always good when you can pull them away, right? It always feels good to you. You're like, yeah. But the thing is, now you got to keep them, And so I would say to anyone, if you get someone out of a previous relationship, you got to worry about in your relationship where they leave you. Because here's the deal. If that person's in a relationship and you become the outside influence, then that means that person is going to need that in their next relationship. So even though they come to you, guess what? They're going to still need an outside influence. And it's the difference is you won't be that anymore. He or she is going to get someone else.
Yeah, what does the history show? If they're going to do that, if they did that for you, you don't think they'll do that again? They're going to leave somebody else, they'll do it again.
That's what they need. That's how they operate. So if they're in a relationship, if they're married or whatever in a relationship, and then they start being with you and you know it, then this person obviously needs that. So they need the relationship and they need that outside person. So you say, well, hey, if they come to me, that's not going to be the case. No, they're just going to find another outside person. That's the way it works. So you might as well, if you sign up for that, just understand what you're signing up for, because that's what you're going to get. And that's just the way it works.
See, because I would say that from my understanding, yeah, Will was the biggest, at that time. He was on top of the world, right? Jada was, honestly, she didn't marry Will. She probably would have been a forgotten 90s actress, because there's so many 90s actresses that were beautiful, that were honestly mediocre actors or actresses. You can think about it. There were so many of them that, over time they got overlooked, right?
Yeah.
They never evolved. And she didn't have no big film, right? She's had always like,
Set it off. I love it. Set it off.
Set It Off was good.
I like it. Hey, I like it, Jada.
Yeah, she had one in 2017, right? Movie with like Girls Trip, something like that was her last movie. But these were all like subpar movies. She'd never been in a big film where she was a leading role. So she was a C-list celebrity. She got with Will. I think, again, I agree. She loved the idea of Will. She loved the structure of Will. She loved that, her life was going to be financially better in abundance. And she was going to be at the top of the world, bigger and better than life could present itself. That doesn't always mean that it's going to work out or it's going to be in your best interest either. But she wanted, again, this is a true representation of hypergamy. People want the best. Hypergamy is you want the best of the best option. And so women a lot want the best. They want the cream of the crop.
She would. Of course.
Yeah, of course. Everybody wants the cream of the crop. But my thing is, did she really want them? I would say no. I think what she really wanted is she wanted Tupac. If you listen to her conversations in the past, she grew up with Tupac. If you ever listen to when she talks about Tupac, it was like, look, y'all had a deep connection that nobody can really explain.
Tupac was huge.
Yeah. And when he passed away, obviously, she had to move. But my thing is, when she talks about him, I watch countless conversations whenever they bring it up to her, and she changes to a different person. I understand that person meant a lot to her heart. But it's funny because I'm not crazy to think this. Will even said he was jealous of Tupac.
Yeah, well, he should. Tupac was huge.
Yeah.
He was huge. Well, Will wasn't that big. Tupac was, shoot. Well, you can see now Tupac's still huge.
But he was option number one. And what happens if a woman can't get option number one, she'll go to option number two. But it was really not. You were not her first option.
Yeah,
really deep down, you were not her first option. She just had to go to you because option one was not available.
It's not available. Yeah.
So I hate to say it, but I don't think so.
But you know what? They're not polyamory. And so polyamory is another type of it in which you have this open type relationship. But in polyamory, it's one committed couple and they're not seeking any type of love connection. So they do everything together. So it's a couple who does everything together. They're not swingers just going around. They're just polyamory, meaning we're a committed couple to each other, and we're just seeking for romantic love connections from external sources. So they were not polyamory. They were not swingers. What they were, just an open relationship in which they defined the terms of the relationship. And I know you guys have to look that up. Go ahead and look it up, polyamory. It's okay. But
it's interesting you said that, because you know who's polyamorous?
Who is that?
Their daughter.
Oh, wow.
Willow is. She came out on Red Table Talk with her mother, Jada, and Jada's mom, her grandmother. And she talked about her view on marriage and relationships. Now, I can't break that down because I didn't watch the full interview, but I remember there was a snippet on social media saying that, hey, she was polyamorous. She wanted multiple partners. And that was actually one of my next points, is that you got to think about this. See, people look at these celebrities. Celebrity relationships are so much different than your day-to-day relationship.
Yes,
they view it totally different. There's so many different dynamics, moving pieces, how they see it. But the reason I wanted to share this with you is not to harp on Willow, but it's also to let you guys know a lot of people look at these celebrities to reinvent their life, or to really, they see it as a way of how your life should really be ran, or a reflection of it. People look at Hollywood as their source of how their day-to-day life should be led and be lived, right? And which is why so many people do a lot of stuff in Hollywood, right? Roles in movies and all that stuff really reflects how people move in their life. But my thing is, see, people look at Will and Jada, and so many people used to love their relationship. Oh my God, it's a perfect relationship. Ain't nothing perfect, number one. And number two is the life that they were living. Even Will said this in his interview. He said, I would not recommend this marriage to anybody else. I would not recommend this marriage to anybody else, because I believe, one, it don't work. 9 out of 10 times, it don't work. And number two is, when you see this relationship, you need to understand that what it does to the children. People don't understand what you act like, they're acting like the children don't see that stuff. Trust me, they do. I don't care if you're celebrity or not, you got the money to move how you want to sift and move, you can see certain things. Look at, and that's why I think that had an effect on them kids.
Yeah. But you're right. I think the stat is like 90-something% of open marriages fail. They fail. They don't work. They just don't work. I mean, only 8% work. And I think the stat says it's like, it's very few in America that even practice it. Maybe 2 to 3% of Americans that even, say would practice it and agree with it. So it's not a high percent, and that's really anywhere. Anywhere in no matter Russia, England, it doesn't matter where you go. It's just.
I got a question for you though. I got a question, because somebody on this show will rebuttal you right now and say, "Well, hey Tim, I'll call you Timmy. Timmy, Timmy. Well, Timmy, tell me this. You're saying polygamy does not work. However, if we were to go back in ancient times, why is polygamy such a normalized thing, but now in this culture is not accepted?"
It wasn't a normalized. I would tell you this: it wasn't a normalized thing. It was wrong back in ancient times. Just because it was practiced and you saw it practiced and you saw it didn't work from ancient times, you should actually learn from it. So it wasn't something in ancient times that was considered okay. It's never been considered okay. The Bible always tells you it's one man, one wife, one man, one woman. So it doesn't mean just because someone practiced it and you see it in history means it was okay and somehow it worked. If it worked, it would be a continuous practice today in society. But obviously it doesn't work because we outlaw it here. We don't say you can have multiple wives in the United States. We outlaw that. You only can have one. Why? Because it doesn't work. And so
because Kings had several wives. But can you give me some understanding of how it didn't work?
Yeah, he had concubines, Aaron. So he was married, he had a queen, and then he would have like 70 to 75, maybe 100, or however many he could afford, women that were at his concubine or at his disposal. I guess you could say it was open marriage for him, basically. So you could just say that pretty much. But that was how it was. And he may marry several women along the way, the king would. And it was always considered wrong. It was never considered right. So even in the Bible, it was never considered right just because a king would marry. Solomon even writes, hey, it does no good. Solomon even writes, you read the writings of Solomon in the Bible. He tells you it doesn't work. He tells you need to have the one wife, one love. He tells you that immediately. So I would tell you the Bible articulates it should be a monogamous thing. And society even agrees with that because society outlaws anything other than a monogamous. So you can have affairs, but society says you can't have but one wife. So society itself in the United States has said, hey, it doesn't work. And people, let me see, there's no uprising like it is for the LGBT community or whatever to say, hey, give us equal rights. Let us be able to do these things that we want to do. But there's no uprising to say, hey, we want to have 5 wives. You can't do anything about it. You don't hear people running around saying that. I want to have 5 wives because women don't want it. Number one, if they wanted it, they'd be like, yeah, he should have more wives. But no women out there saying that. And
They
guys,
want to be individually loved, only for
right.
them.
Right. And guys are not running around saying, I want 5 rods. They got to
Woof,
pay for
woof. I don't know about that one. Woof.
it. I
You know
sure
what's
ain't.
funny?
I don't want to pay.
I understand that.
You
But
got to
let
pay
me tell you
for it.
this.
And it's
I
going to
heard
be more
somebody talking.
trouble. It's just going to be more trouble.
I agree, but I heard somebody talking, and I wanted to say something. I was in a group of fellas. I don't know these guys like that, but they were talking about, yeah, I want to have several different women, have kids with several different women, and just they all kind of just come to me, all 4 of them. Like he was naming like four women, but they all basically still come to him. He have all his children with them. They all basically are in a relationship. He's in a relationship with all of them. And in my head, I'm like, dummy, this ain't gonna work. You think this type of stuff works? And I'm like, sure, the 1 to 2%, the 10%, whatever the number say, I know it's a small percentage.
It's a small percentage.
But if you think that you can do that, by all means, have fun. But I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have more headaches than what you can even imagine. Because what happens is you got 4 women that's all emotional. And you telling me they all gonna stay in line. Because if that was the case, look at all these celebrities that have several different wives. Look at Boosie. Ooh, Boosie got so many different women. Look at NBA YoungBoy for you young fellas and young women out there. What happened? I'll give you an example. NBA YoungBoy I think he got 8 different children, 7 different baby moms. The man only 22 years old. He's one of the best rappers out right now for the young generation. Let me tell you what happened. Floyd Mayweather's daughter got with him and got pregnant. She got a child by him. What happened? See, he can't keep them online either. She went and stabbed his other baby mama.
Floyd Mayweather's daughter?
Stabbed the other baby mom. Didn't kill her, but stabbed her. Now she's getting pressed charges on that. Luckily, the money will probably eradicate all this. But at the same time, you look at that is not going to work. You are not going to be able to get all these women in line. They're going to be asking for money. They're going to say, why you ain't spending time with my child, but you spend more time with their child? It's too many dynamics and moving pieces. You're never going to have it fully together. It's problematic. You fellas need to think about when you're talking to 3 different women at the same time. You can't even keep up with who said what, when they said it. It's too much. You don't know what story from the other story. You convoluting all the stories together. And guess what? They start to realize it. Problems. It don't work.
It don't work. I'm telling you, it don't work. And statistics bear that out. It don't work. Our society has said it doesn't work because we don't allow people to practice it. It doesn't mean you can't do like the NBA YoungBoy and have several women and have babies all over the place. That's fine if you do that, but it don't work. Trust me, it does not work. And if that's what you're practicing, that's what you're gonna need to continue. So,
well, what about Hugh Hefner though?
Oh yeah, what about
Did it work though?
It didn't work for him. Hugh was what, 90-something years old with this 18-year-old. So that meant, what that told me? That told me that Hugh was never satisfied. That's what that told me. That told me he was never satisfied with any single woman, and that at some point that woman was going to get old just like he's gotten old. But he wanted the lure and the appeal of the younger woman as if she was 18. Well, you were never in love because love goes old. It'll grow old with you. See, love will grow old with you, whereas the others won't. That means you were just wanting a sexual toy, a sexual fantasy that you wanted to keep into your hundreds almost. Well, you can't have that. It just doesn't work that way. And when you start to love someone, it's different than just being in a sexual twist with someone. And so all of these we've been talking about, this polyamory, this swingers, these open relationships, all they are is about a sexual relation that they want to have. And in it, the women will lose almost every time because as they grow older, they will be less appealing. And the male, he will always go back to something younger as they grow older. And the women lose. They will lose.
All right, what did they say? Every day another woman turns 21 years old.
That's right. Turns 18 to 21. And guess what? There's going to be more to pick from. And these men are going to go backwards. They're not going up. Typically, a 50-year-old male is not going to say, I want to marry someone 70. A woman 70. This just doesn't work that way. It's typically a 50-year-old male says, I'll go back to I'm 20-year-old, something like that. Or if he's 70, he's going to go back to his 30-year-old. It goes backwards. So that's why I said, as women grow older, they'll lose out in these type of relationships. It doesn't work. It's not built for women in the long run.
I agree, because I think even from a younger perspective, guys dating up older women, it don't necessarily work. Guys usually date older women in 20s, 30s. I even seen it from a person. I remember it was alarming to me. Look, there's only a couple of reasons why they do something like that. It's a fantasy. They want to be with an older woman because it's a fantasy. Two, it's the same thing sometimes with other people and girls and older men. And maybe they just prefer that, but I'm talking about older men. But I'm saying it's a fantasy for a woman to be, for a man to be, a younger man to be with an older woman. Or two, it's just simply the fact that you're trying to pimp her. You're trying to get some money out of her because she got the bread. And you might be young, so you might be pimping her, or she might look at you like a boy toy. Usually how them dynamics work.
Yeah, usually how those dynamics, and I think that was probably the dynamics with Jada and this Augustine or whatever. Augustine.
August Alsina. We gonna work on you getting acquainted with the younger generation.
Whatever. I know Jada was probably just using him as a boy toy, probably something to make Will jealous because he's what, 20 years younger than her or 15 years, whatever.
Well, they said they had broken up. They at that time they had already been broken up completely, done for good. They had that assumption at the time, and she was with him, and he was hurting. When he came to the family, to the Smith family, August Alsina was broken. He was hurting. He has a lot of health issues even now, but he was very sickly. And she looked at it as an opportunity. And a lot of people say that she really was planning this, I guess, or I don't know the correct word for this, but she was definitely harping on the fact that he's not healthy. I want to help him. I want to fix him, but also looking at it as like, oh, I can really get over on him. He could be my little boy toy at the same time. You'd be surprised. Old women be doing that.
I mean, I agree that she probably looked at him along those lines because, I mean, you think about it. She's in her late 40s or 50s or something in there. So she's as she gets older, I mean, Will is not going to go back downstream, unfortunately. That's just the way it's going to work. I don't think Jada's going to win in this in the long run. I don't see her winning. I think what's going to happen is that as she gets older, Will's going to say, you know what, it's probably time to move on. And like most what they do in Hollywood, they can afford to go back and get someone younger, and that's what they'll do. I mean, all of them do that. They go 20 years younger.
Yeah. So, see, Will ain't gonna skip it. Yeah, Will ain't gonna skip a beat. See, I would say, hey, Will, listen to me. This is to you, Will. Okay. I know we look a little bit alike, but I'm talking to you, Will. I'm saying this, man. Look, you need to turn back into Mike Lowry. Go back to Mike Lowry. That's who you need to be off of Bad Boys. Be Mike Lowry. You need to go back to who you used to be. If you like Mike Lowry, the world is yours. You could be Mike Lowry.
Well, I'm sure he is being Mike Lowry. I mean, they're in an open relationship. So, I could understand Jada's point that, this is probably her way to keep the fish on the hook. Now, as a female, it's kind of smart as a female if you can keep the fish on the hook. So if you can keep the emotional attachment with him and allow him to fulfill the sexual fantasies elsewhere, because at some point he will want to, then she would say, okay, well, maybe I can win in this thing in a longer run than him simply just saying, you know what, I can't go feel my sexual fantasies, therefore, i.e., I divorce you. Then she go, that's a lose, right? You take an L, basically. And that happens a lot in Hollywood.
Wait, is it a loss because she's not married or a loss financially? What loss are we talking about?
Well, a loss financially from where she may have been. She would lose some financial status. And I think she would lose some status maybe in Hollywood. She may retain some of that because she was Will's, former wife.
Right.
It ain't the same as you still married to him.
Yeah.
You go to the parties. It's the big difference. You married to him going to the parties, and you the ex showing up at the party. That's two different scenarios. And now you showing up at the party, you're older, your chances of catching these fish, they're not the same. Because now the 18 to 21-year-old walks in, and they'll walk by you, Jada, when they used to walk to you.
Yeah.
So
That's
they
true.
used to walk to her, they'll walk by.
You know what's a perfect example is that a lot of these women, when they get divorced, they like to keep that man's last name.
Yeah.
Example, R. Kelly's ex-wife. Now,
Yep.
obviously, that's a different situation. We ain't gonna talk about it.
Different.
But she kept the last name. I don't understand. The man, why are you keeping his? Because there's benefits about Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, Larsa Pippen. She still got the. They keep these last names because it rings a bell when people talk about it.
That's right.
It still gives them some type of status or look about them.
Right. That's why she's Jada Pinkett Smith. She knows, hey, it's some status with this. She could have been just Jada Pinkett, but there's a status that is associated with it. So she keeps that name, which I understand. So, I understand what she's trying to do. She's probably trying to hang on somewhere. And because if she cut loose and he says, okay, let's cut bait. Well, now I'm in a different category. I'm older now. He's used me, what women would say, he's used me through my prime. He used me through my prime years. Now I'm getting older. He wants to dump me and get rid of me. That's how women think. That's what they would say. That's kind of the way they would couch it, even though, it could be just, hey, we just don't get along anymore, or we're not sexually aroused anymore. And so they want that same feeling that they once had or whatever. So, that's a common thing. Very common, very, very common. That's common in people that are not in Hollywood. So it's very, very common, except the only difference is that people don't have that Hollywood money. They can't afford it. So they're going, the dude goes, hey, you know what? I love these 18 to 21 years, just like the guy who's in Hollywood. But the problem is I can't afford them. I can't afford. And if you can't afford them, guess what? Then you go, you know what? I'll just stay with you, baby. We just grow old together because I can't afford nothing else. And then there's just some, hey, I enjoy being with my wife. I love my wife. So they stay with them. All of them are different. But, if you ask them, hey, would I love those sexual encounters they probably said, well, yes, I would. I would love some of those encounters. Now, whether they would probably love it, but that's just the way it works, unfortunately. And of course, the Bible teaches against it and all of that, but that's just the way society is. Just the way it is. Everybody loves the candy they can't get. Everybody loves. They like the candy they can't get. I know, because I just had someone in my office and I had candy sitting on my desk. They kept looking at it. It was the candy they couldn't get. Then they finally get some of that candy. I said, reach your hand in there and get some of that candy you couldn't get.
You must be talking about peppermints, because that's all you ever have.
Yeah, that's right. You were looking at it. The candy they could reach it. I was like, can I get some of that candy? I was like, I know.
All right, you got anything else to say in closing remarks? Because I'm good on my end.
I'm good.
All right. Well, hey, guys, this is How I Talk. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will see you on the next one. Talk to you later.